Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the June edition of the Lebanon Redevelopment Commission. We'll begin this evening, as we do every meeting, with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Either way, works either way.
Yes, thank you very much. Madam Clerk, if you would please note that we are all in attendance this evening. We've got a full board. That is great to see. First up, we have the approval of the minutes. I believe the commission got the minutes. We only have the one to approve this time, correct? May the 8th.
If everybody got them in time.
I read them. I'll make a motion. We approve.
Second that motion.
Got a motion and a second. All those in favor, please signify with an aye. Aye. All those opposed, same sign. That does carry. That's going to take us to old business. I do not see any old business on our agenda, so we'll move straight into new business. First up, we have a facade grant request, and I believe Mr. Derek Warren is going to give us a little bit of an introduction on, is this the 115
Yep.
West Main?
Sorry, I was just verifying that before I stepped to the podium. I didn't have the agenda in front of me, so. All right, so tonight we have two facade grant applications. The first one is 115 West Main Street. 115 West Main Street is DH Property Holdings LLC.
Definitely, maybe.
Owned by Richard Hornay and Darren DeBard. They are seeking grant funding from the RDC for roof replacement for a 20-year roof. The applicant did provide two estimates, which you have in front of you, I believe, in the information received prior to the meeting. 5-Star Commercial Roofing Incorporated is the low bid for a 20-year FlexStar rubberized roofing at $14,250. And the high bid was M&M Roofing for a 20-year EPDM roofing at $32,250. The discrepancy between the two is something you might recall seeing 5-Star Commercial Roofing in the past. We had a property owner come through about 2 years ago, a little over 2 years ago. They had found a roofing company that did a sort of a painted on process, for lack of a better term. I think I explained that last time I was here. Instead of using the rolled out rubber sheets that end up having a seam and are glued together, this is all one continuous kind of application. It's Flex Seal for roofing. Is the best way to describe it. And I believe it's 5 buildings that had this process installed prior to it ever being installed before in our district, and it turned out very well. There were a few hiccups along the way, but we worked through those with the property owner and the company, and at the end of the day, it was just fine. So it is a great alternative and much cheaper. So much cheaper for the RDC to contribute and much cheaper for the property owner to also pay for. So with a low bid of $14,250, and according to the grant resolution 2023-03, roof applications are eligible for a 30% max grant from the RDC. So the staff recommendation tonight is to award the applicant $4,275 with an owner's responsible share of $9,975.
Which building is this, Derek?
This is the EB Gear.
Which one?
EB Gear Shooting Sporting Goods on the West Main Street, 115 West Main Street. Yeah. So next to, let's see, next to the Chop House Alley. So you Chop House Alley. Yeah. EB Gear. Yep.
Oh, okay. I thought that's where it was at.
So did you ask for this? First of all, I don't have the facade information. Was this something that you asked for on March the 9th?
That's in reference to the facade. So
2303
is the facade.
That's the grant resolution number.
That's where we passed the new facade grant for this year.
Okay. That's not for this.
No.
Okay. Thank you.
Just referencing that as the.
10-4.
as the latest resolution for the RDC grant
Got it.
program.
I will need the information on the facade that you're talking about. I didn't get that.
Okay,
Okay, if you'll just send it to me whenever.
sure.
Thanks.
All right, Commission, do we have any questions for Derek? All right, so with that, did the applicant have anything to add? Nope.
Appreciate the opportunity.
Sounds great. So Commission, I would then entertain a motion in regards to 115 West Main Street for the facade grant program. And again, just a reminder, the staff recommendation was $4,275.
The motion that we accept the staff recommendation on the low bid of $14,250 with a 30% contribution from RDC of $4,275.
So we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Got a motion and a second. All those in favor, please signify with an aye. Aye. All those opposed, same sign. That does carry. Thank you very much. And I believe we have our second one coming up here, which is also on Main Street, but this one's a little farther down the road, 222 East Main Street here.
That is correct. So the next application is from the Boone County Cake Company. Everybody hungry now?
Can you reference the building owner name? Because I really like it.
Stephanie Kim?
Well, I meant the greatest property ever.
Oh, well, those are the bids. I'll certainly go over those, yes.
All right, good.
Okay.
I like their name.
All right, so the next application, Boone County Cake Company, Stephanie Kim at 222 East Main Street. They received a certificate of appropriateness from the Historic Preservation Commission for replacing the front porch roof structure, soffit repair, soffit lighting, stamped concrete patio, which is a brick pattern, roughly 520 square feet in front of the building for some outdoor seating space. Interior sidewalk to the property, which will go from the front porch around to the back,
Hey, Derek,
and some paint and touch-up.
Derek, real
Yes.
quick, just to orient the crowd. So 222 East Main is next to, so Aspire Manor, I believe,
Correct.
is the large property. And then on the other side is, I think, Airy Time is occupying it now, or
Well,
is that
let me-
Jackson McCormick?
Let me show you some pictures. How about that?
Snyder.
It was Snyder
the old
Hearing.
hearing.
So if we can get these pictures beamed up.
Yeah, there we go.
This is the structure
There was
we're
some
talking
discussion on where this property was.
Sure.
So I wanted to make sure we were there first.
about. Yep, so right next to Aspire, you have Aspire, this structure, you have an apartment building, I believe the alley, then insurance office, and then Airy Time is the way it goes in that block. If memory serves me correct, sorry, kind of going off memory there.
Yeah.
So this is the structure that we're talking about tonight.
I don't think anything's in it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Is it currently occupied by the Boone County Cake Company?
Yes, it is. Yep. So the Boone County Cake Company, Stephanie Kim, has provided two estimates tonight. One from the greatest property ever, and the other from the Development Corporation of Indiana. The greatest property ever had the greatest bid of the proposal, and they are the low bid. So the patio addition, lighting and covered patio portion of the bid is $48,553. They do have some foundation repair that does qualify per our resolution and is less than 25% of the total project, which that is what is required to be eligible for $5,000 for foundation repair. That bid is $53,553, again, from the greatest property ever. The Development Corporation of Indiana, patio addition, lighting, and covered patio was $51,450, and foundation repair was $5,200, for a total bid of $56,650. With that, according to Grant Resolution 2023-03, this project falls within Category 3, which is the estimated cost of improvements of $50,001 to $75,000. The owner's share is $26,000, and the maximum grant is $49,000. The staff recommendation is to award the applicant from the RDC $27,553, leaving the owner responsible share of $26,000, the minimum for this category. So let me, just to give you a couple ideas of what's going on. As mentioned, this is you can see right here in the picture, kind of the shed roof that has a post next to it that will be over the front door. At some point, can't really tell you when, the existing roof that was over that front patio was removed. It was probably rotten or something that the current owner did not do that, so they are putting something back. You can also see the rendering of the stamped concrete patio that is in the front of the building. There's some landscaping that goes along with this to kind of buffer the patio from the city sidewalk, and just give it a more inviting type feel. And this here gives you kind of an idea of the plantings that will be installed at the property, again, with the front patio that will take up a vast majority of the front yard.
Will they meet all the setbacks?
Yes. So this is, you can see, this is the current condition of the front patio area. You can see where the plastic is. That was where the previous roof was, and has been removed. And the planning department did issue a temporary certificate of occupancy so the owner could get started creating some revenue, start baking. So as part of that, we require them to install a temporary sidewalk, which they did here. So you can see the interior sidewalk that I referenced earlier. On the right-hand side of the screen is where the front patio is, and this sidewalk will wrap around where you can see it going into the back door there. I think that's all I have for my presentation.
Do you have a rendering of what the patio is going to look like?
More or less the elevation that I showed you.
The covered patio?
Oh, the covered patio?
Just curious what it might look like.
Yeah, it was provided in the, one of the elevation shots. It's kind of hard to see, it's a little grainy, but it is kind of a shed-style roof that will tie into that gable end there at that point and come down and be supported by a post.
Major upgrade from plastic.
Yes, an upgrade from plastic, and it'll give the patrons, a little bit of protection from the weather as they entered into the building.
Awesome. Any other questions from the commission for Derek? Would the applicant care to speak? Not required, I promise.
I promised them that you would have some questions for them about the business.
Yes.
Typical things that you normally ask. So they didn't get the opportunity to speak at the HPC, so here's your chance.
So what kind of cakes are you?
Come on up to the microphone if you would. You've been invited to the microphone. Just so you guys know, the microphone helps our folks watching on TV actually hear, so. Welcome.
So Boone County Cake Company will be a high-end bakery that will offer the best in custom cakes, special occasion cakes, but we'll also have daily products available. We'll be maintaining a full case of baked goods, ranging from anything from a croissant, French macarons, to whatever you could imagine. We'll also be offering drip coffee, and eventually, as business starts to ramp up, we would like to venture into espresso and espresso-based drinks, and then we'll also be offering cocktails and spirits through a three-way license that we've been able to get approved for as well.
Awesome. Very cool. I'm intrigued. Are you guys the chefs?
I am mostly the chef. However, he's really amazing at making icing.
She is the chef, and I'm the support, whether it's
There you
washing
go.
dishes or whatever she needs,
That's fantastic.
whether in life or in the bakery.
Relatively new business?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Grand opening last week of July.
Fantastic. Very cool. Any other questions from the commission for the applicant? All right, thank you guys very
Thank you.
much. So we have before us then a facade grant. Recommendation from the staff would be a grant of $27,553. That is the level 3 recommendation, and I would then entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion, we approve the grant request for 222 East Main Street, contribution amount of the $27,553.
So we have a motion. Do we have a second? We've got a second. All those in favor, please signify with an aye. Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Motion does carry. Welcome. We look forward to it. It's going to look amazing. Yes, absolutely. All right, folks, so that ends our facade program for the evening. So thank you very much, Derek, for your updates there. That is going to move us on to Resolution 2023-06, which is a kind of an annual event that we have here, which is the determination for capture of the incremental revenue. And if that wasn't fun enough, we're going to have Rob read it in.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President, Commission. Again, this is a follow-up, Baker Tilly's TIF report from last month. Resolution 2023-06, again, determines the need to capture tax increment revenue. Pursuant to Indiana Code, this commission makes determination related to its need to capture TIF revenues for the following budget year and provide notice to various taxing parties. The commission has previously established allocation areas that are set forth in Exhibit A, defined as the allocation areas, for purposes of capturing TIF revenue. City's financial advisors have conferred with the commission and about the captured excess value available or projected to be available, as you've heard by Baker Tilly. The amount of the excess assessed value in each of the allocation areas is not expected to generate more than 200% of the amount of the allocated tax proceeds pursuant to Indiana Code. Therefore, pursuant to Indiana Code, this commission determines for the budget year 2024 all the incremental assessed value of taxable property in each of the allocation areas will be captured. President or the Secretary of the Commission pursuant to Indiana Code is hereby directed to provide written notice of the determination made herein. The Commission hereby approves the forms of the letter in Exhibit B, and this resolution shall be in full force and effect upon its passage.
All right, we are officially read into the record. Do we have any questions from the commission? You do not have to, we're not public hearing, correct? Correct. Okay. So with that, I would then entertain a motion in regards to Resolution 2023-06. Motion to approve 2023-06 as presented. Do we have a second?
Second.
We've got a second. All those in favor, please signify with an aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, same sign. That resolution does carry. Thank you very much. We are going to continue right down the line. We're going to move on to Resolution 2023-07, which talks about the transfer of tax increment revenue for public improvement. And I believe Kevin is going to shed some light on this one for us.
Probably defer to Rob a lot on this. Really what this does is goes back to a decision this body made to fund the regional conveyance system, which is the replacement of the Price legal drain in cooperation with the county surveyor's office underneath the CSX railroad right-of-way, underneath State Road 39, and then extending that conveyance system across the Limp Farms parcel that would ultimately provide for a public stormwater conveyance system to the sanitary ditch for everything in what we would call the upper sanitary ditch drainage basin. So that would include things like the Limp properties, but also other properties totaling about 1,000 acres in that basin that drain into that legal drain and ultimately reach the sanitary the sanitary ditch. So at that time, I think you funded those projects to the tune of 1.75 million, and that included roughly $400,000 of additional expense associated with the Hickory Junction Fieldhouse, because those off-site drainage infrastructure improvements were already previously included in that economic development developer agreement. So this $400,000 increase that was included in that 1.75 million was for changes required based off of the Limp Family Farms property and relocating that to a more favorable location that is more centrally located for the other parcels in the area to drain to. So that's kind of a general overview of some actions that were previously taken, and the goal, I'll leave it to Rob maybe to round out the legal aspects of why we're here.
Yep. Boy, I can't wait for that.
Yes.
Commission, before I read this, this is, again, a mechanism that you may recall from last year when we were doing all the bond issuance, both the field house and the public infrastructure bonds. This resolution referenced that. This is all related to the public infrastructure, as Mr. Krulik said. And it's a change order that's being recommended to this commission not to be paid out of from the bonds due to, again, the projects that Mr. Krulik's talked about, but through TIF revenue that's legally available funds that will be then reimbursed to the city council. So the city council will hear something similar, a similar resolution tonight if this commission were to approve it. With that, I'll try to hit the highlights on here, but that's a lot of detail in it. Yes, sir. Dr. Taylor.
Yeah, so this is change order was in our budget, we go to Baker Tilly, we get the cash.
We do have the kit.
Yeah, we've spoken with Baker Tilly. They had some ideas on, the various funds that could be used for it, that said, that they indicated depending upon what the commission would do, they'd be happy to meet with Tanya and whomever else to go through and any suggestions.
I'm all in favor. I think it's just a compliment to what we're doing across the city. Just want to make sure we don't come up short. So when the next facade grant comes to us or something like that. I think this is highly important. I appreciate Mr. Krulik's efforts and initiative in bringing this forward. One of the reasons we exist, to make this a continued operational contribution that has long-term benefit to the community. Thank you for answering the question. Thank you, Kevin.
You're welcome.
Like me to read it?
Let's do
All right,
it.
Mr. President, Commission, Resolution 2023-07, again, is a resolution that authorizes the transfer of tax increment revenues to reimburse the City of Lebanon for the payment of cost of local public improvements. Pursuant to Indiana Code, the city is entitled to do, among other things, to purchase and construct economic development facilities. Whereas the city, again, has issued economic development lease rental bonds, Series 2022B, as we highlighted, that were dated August 4, 2022. Those are referred to as the Series 2022 bonds, which were made available to the Lebanon Building Corporation pursuant to several agreements that are referenced herein. The city, upon finding that the public infrastructure project and the purchase and construction would create additional employment opportunities to the city, adopted an ordinance approving the financing of the public infrastructure project. And again, that was the issuance Series 2022B bonds. Pursuant to the economic development agreement that was entered into last year, August 2nd, 2022, the City of Lebanon and this commission, the Building Corporation and Card Associates Athletic Facilities, which is the developer, agreed to construct public infrastructure project and transfer the public infrastructure project to the city upon its completion. Pursuant to the development agreement and an acknowledgement and assumption agreement, the company and the developer have assigned certain rights and obligations under the development agreement to the company. On July 28, 2022, the company entered into essentially a construction agreement with Meyer Najum Construction LLC. On January 17, 2022, the general contractor submitted this change order that Mr. Krulik referenced, and that's for the amount of $406,745.36. That's the change order. The company has requested, again, that it being reimbursed for this public infrastructure improvements as set forth in a reimbursement agreement to provide lawfully available funds to the company in an amount not to exceed the total cost of the change order for the purposes of paying the cost of constructing additional public infrastructure project. Pursuant to Indiana Code, this commission may use certain incremental property taxes to reimburse the city for these expenditures. This commission intends to authorize the use of the tax increment revenues in an amount not to exceed the total cost of the change orders for monies currently on hand in the allocation fund in order to reimburse the city for such expenditures. Now therefore be it resolved, and again, there's several definitions in here that I won't go all through, but the Redevelopment Commission hereby finds it will be of public utility and benefit for the city to pay the company for the cost of the change order pursuant to the infrastructure reimbursement agreement. This commission wishes to use tax increment revenues pursuant to Indiana Code. This commission hereby approves the agreement for transfer of funds in substantially similar form as Exhibit A attached here to and incorporated herein by reference, and if any changes are needed, that this commission authorizes the president to make those changes consistent with the purposes of this resolution. Commission also authorizes the president to execute the agreement for transfer of funds. The commission does also recommend to the council of the city of Lebanon that they approve and authorize the payment of the cost of the change order to the company. This resolution shall take effect immediately upon its adoption by this commission.
Clear as mud. All right. Questions from the commission?
This is not going to affect future bond or payments. I mean, it's not going to affect cash flow to pay for future bond payments or anything like that?
Correct. We have cash on hand that will cover this change order.
And is there a reason it's change ordered and not bid separately?
I think that
$400,000?
comes to the fact that there was already off-site drainage that was approved in the original bond structure and the original developer agreement, and this was, that included off-site drainage easement from the field house. And in the negotiations with that off-site owner, there were changes that were required, and that's what resulted in.
So these are true changes. It's not like a different project added in. It was true changes.
This was a relocation from a frontage easement storm sewer system to a more cross-country field open ditch system. And that's the nature of the change.
Change in scope, yeah.
It's also partly related to, there's planned development down there as well, too. So part of it is somewhat to the benefit of the developer of that property owner, too, because they want to make their land developable as well, too. So that's kind of where we had to negotiate with them of where it was going to go and what caused the change from where the initial plan was to then where it ended up. So that makes sense.
There's no doubt it's a benefit to the district, but yeah, the TIF district,
Yeah, I think the change that's resulted in the change order does make for a solution that is more beneficial and viable to multiple property owners, as opposed to the original scope that was really only benefiting one property owner.
Any other questions from the commission? So with that, I would then entertain a motion in regards to Resolution 2023-07.
I'll make a motion, we approve resolution number 2023-07.
Got a motion to approve. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Got a second? All those in favor, please signify with an aye. Aye. All those opposed, same sign. That does carry. Thank you very much, Kevin. And we are then on to Resolution 2023-08, making sure we give Rob an extra workout this week. So this is in reference to the regional lift station reimbursement discussion. This is a partnership between the Lebanon Redevelopment Commission and the Lebanon Utilities. So we've had quite a few meetings in regards to capacity within the business park. So this resolution is a reimbursement agreement, essentially, that is going to put us in a position to essentially double the wastewater capacity in the business park. And for that, we're looking at a reimbursement over the next 5 years for 50% of the cost of that lift station. So obviously there is the direct benefit to the TIF itself, and this reimbursement, essentially the utilities is going to front 100% of the funds, and we will be reimbursing over a 5-year period once we have tenants that are utilizing that capacity, essentially. Mayor, do you want to give us some?
I thought maybe some background would be helpful with this.
Perfect.
So I'd say this conversation started with Lebanon Utilities about 3 years ago, probably, where we started saying, hey, you know, we're starting to have our lift station where it's running, it's supposed to run how many, 12 hours a day, Ryan? Is that right? And we're starting to run more and more and more, and I think now we're running 22 hours a day, which, that's my knowledge, you know, almost the maximum you can run per day, right? They're not changing that. So we got to change something. And so, you know, this is a result essentially just of, we've had great success in our business park. But we also, initially when the business park was designed, it was definitely designed for more logistics type users, which are lighter on, you know, wastewater, right, just based on the nature of the business. We, of course, have shifted towards food manufacturing, consumer products. These generate higher waste loads, right? So that's kind of why we're maybe running into this challenge. Personally, I think it's a benefit, right? The food manufacturing, those consumer product companies, they make a higher level of investment than your typical logistics is. They pay better wages. Again, for all the right reasons, I think that's the better economic development strategy for us to have as a city. But again, we got to deal with the wastewater. So conversation started happening with utilities. They did a full kind of audit of their system, understand of, you know, what's coming from where are challenges, and really there's a couple issues with it, but the big choke point is the lift station. So we are currently in a position where we have companies that have land and are ready to expand and want to expand, but because of this running out of those, you know, time of the lift station running, we have a cap on how much we can expand out there. So this is kind of a proactive effort to us to say, hey, we understand that we see a need here. There is future expansion opportunities for the business park, especially more economic investment. So how do we make sure that we're maximizing that and can provide that kind of speed to business and be ready to go? We actually currently have an economic development deal that's kind of hinging on a lot of this as well too, not to put it too bluntly. But again, we're pretty much at the cap of where we are now based on allocated load levels. So we have to do something. And so based on other projects happening in Lebanon, the utilities is in a great position with availability fees. There was a large check written to them that they can front the cost of the expansion themselves. And so because it's primarily serving the business park, after many discussions and honestly them kind of beat me down a little bit, I did acknowledge that maybe there's some value in RDC partnering with the utilities on this project to at least a payback over time and cost sharing, because if we do expand the lift station, that allows these companies to expand more revenue into the business park, TIF district, you know, the RDC will benefit from it. So that's kind of why it makes sense, but again, it's more of a partnership with our friends at Lebanon Utilities to make sure that we can continue responding to the needs of companies, to make sure that we're continuing providing great jobs and great levels of investment in our business park and TIF district. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions from you guys. We also have Ryan Ottinger and Ed Baskell from the utilities. They've been kind of the spearhead on the utility side, so they can answer questions as well too.
I don't know, Mr. Mayor, if this is for you or for Mr. Ottinger. Is the 50% over 5, is that going to be structured 10% a year for 5 years?
That's how it's written.
Budgetary.
That's how it's written right now, yes.
That's not not to bind or bound anyone to that. There could be fluctuation, but I think as we budget, if we knew that was going to be a X number, appropriate X number.
It's designed as a fixed payment, Rob, if I remember correctly, it's designed as a 10% a year. of
The
project
only
cost. So,
slightly moving target is the final cost.
Yeah,
So,
correct.
but yes,
Fully
it's,
understand, but
yep.
instead of a 3% 1 year and a
Right.
47% the 5th year.
Yeah, and
For us, it would help to have that consistent,
Yep.
or somewhat of a target consistent.
And let me explain too, the 5-year time window as well, because that's maybe a little shorter than we sometimes see with some financing deals. Because it's capital now, they're actually using an internal loan between the water utility and the wastewater utility. And so within State Board of Accounts, they can do a 5-year loan within themselves, because they're technically 3 separate entities, right? But they have different, so they kind of keep separate books, but they can loan money within themselves. So like that's that 5-year limit, so that's where that 5-year horizon's coming from. So we're essentially kind of paying back one to then pay back the other utility. That makes sense. So that's why that 5 years in there.
So in essence, we're investing in increased capacity.
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, we're essentially doubling our current lift station.
Thank you, sir.
Yep.
Appreciate it.
Any other questions from the commission, either for mayor or the utilities?
Thank you, Commissioner.
Good deal, absolutely.
Got something just to get Ryan up here.
It's everything he could do to make it here. He's got it all dressed up and everything for us tonight. So with that, I'll go ahead and have Rob read us in here, and we'll go that route.
Okay, thank you, Mr. President. Commission, Resolution 2023-08, again, is a resolution by this commission authorizing reimbursement of costs for the construction of the Lebanon Business Park Regional Lift Station. The City of Lebanon Utilities operates a wastewater treatment system for the purposes of providing safe, reliable, efficient wastewater management for the City of Lebanon, including the Lebanon Business Park. Whereas in order to support the existing businesses and to attract new development, this Lebanon Redevelopment Commission provides resources and strategic economic development planning throughout the city to address conditions associated with areas in the need of redevelopment and the underutilization of land because of infrastructure barriers to development. The Lebanon Business Park has rapidly expanded beyond the capacity of Lebanon Utilities wastewater treatment system servicing that area of the city. Lebanon Utilities has identified in its long-range infrastructure improvement plan, as determined through engineering studies, in order to promote additional development and to provide for the existing business expansion, the need for the construction of a regional lift station and general expansion of Lebanon Utilities wastewater collection system servicing the Lebanon Business Park. That's defined as the project. Whereas in order to accommodate the fast-growing wastewater capacity needs of the Lebanon Business Park, Lebanon Utilities will advance the scope and scheduling of the project. Pursuant to Lebanon Utilities' initial engineering assessment and subject to public bidding requirements, the estimated total cost for completion of the project is $6,200,000. Lebanon Utilities has requested this commission to provide certain economic development assistance. Whereas this commission intends to reimburse Lebanon Utilities 50% of the total project costs. Pursuant to Lebanon Utilities providing this commission the price of the publicly awarded construction contract for the project, and subject to the conditions set forth in the Lebanon Business Park Regional Lift Station Reimbursement Agreement that's attached as Exhibit A. Whereas Lebanon Utilities shall pay, as needed in full, the final project cost from Lebanon Utility wastewater available funds. Lebanon Utilities shall reasonably provide this commission any additional requested documentation evidencing the project cost. Concurrently with the adoption of this resolution, the Redevelopment Commission shall enter into a reimbursement agreement with Lebanon Utilities to reimburse Lebanon Utilities for 50% of the final project cost set forth as follows. This commission has determined the completion of the project is in the best interest of the community and economic development. The commission, subject to compliance with all applicable statutory requirements, desires to enter into the agreement to aid in the timely planning, start, and completion of the project. This commission hereby finds that it will be a public utility and benefit to reimburse Lebanon Utilities for 50% of the cost of the project or in an amount not to exceed $3,100,000 from any and all legally available funds and subject to the terms and conditions set forth in the reimbursement agreement. This commission hereby approves the reimbursement agreement in substantially similar form as Exhibit A, together with such changes as are approved by the President of the Redevelopment Commission and which are consistent with the purposes of this resolution. This commission hereby authorizes the President of the Redevelopment Commission or its designee to execute the reimbursement agreement. And this resolution shall take effect immediately upon its adoption by this commission.
Perfect. Thank you, Rob. So just a couple of points in there. So as we kind of mentioned earlier, the total cost is a little bit of a moving target. It actually started out at 10 million, so they shaved her down for us a little bit to the 6.2. That's a pretty good estimate, but we do have the not to exceed the 3.1 million in the resolution. So any additional funds that may be required, whether it be change orders, additional costs, those sorts of things, they would have to come in front of this commission again for an amendment. So there is a little bit of a fail-safe in there for us. Any other?
And I would add, Commission, one of the things Lebanon Utilities Service Board did approve the agreement subject to further legal discussions. There were some additional clarifications that I've suggested. So if this commission were to approve it, it's somewhat set forth herein that the President can authorize an agreement, subject to the purposes herein. I would just add, if we could, like we have done before, subject to maybe further legal consideration as well.
Any other questions from the commission? So with that, I would entertain a motion in regards to 2023-08. Please remember the subject to final legal review with any motions.
Move we accept resolution 2023-08, regional lift station reimbursement, based on the parameters of the resolution as read into the minutes.
Perfect. And pending final legal review. All right, so we do have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We've got a second. All those in favor, please signify with an aye. Aye. All those opposed, same sign. That motion does carry. Thank you very much. Folks, I've been involved with the RDC for just shy of 10 years myself, and this was the first time that we've had substantial talks with the utilities. So it's exciting times here in Lebanon, and it's great for us to both be at the table here and really kind of join hands. I will tell you that I would be the first one to give the utilities a little bit of a hard time, but they really have been pretty forward-looking on this project, looking forward even to what may happen north of town and building in some things to this project. So kudos to those folks, and hopefully we continue this great relationship and move Lebanon forward. So thank you, guys. And with that, we've got two things left, first of which is paying our bills. So I would entertain a motion on our claims.
Make a motion, we pay claims.
I was worried we weren't going to pay them for a minute. We've got a motion on the table.
Now, second.
And we have a second. All those in favor signify with an aye. Aye. All those opposed? Whew, we paid them. And the last and most favorite, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Whew, good. Wow. We've got a motion and a second, I believe I heard from Dr. Milliman. And all those in favor signify with an aye. Aye. All right, that brings us to the close of our meeting. Next scheduled is July the 10th, I believe. Thank you very much.